TNCRadio.LIVE, your commercial driver navigation station.
Good afternoon. This is TNCRadio.LIVE, and this is the Truckers Network Radio Show with your host, Shelley Johnson.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. Yes, this is the Truckers Network Radio Show on TNCRadio.LIVE, where we offer the entertainment, sports, weather, traffic, news, and information that commercial drivers want to hear. You know, life has a way of handing us obstacles and problems, and depending on what the obstacles are, it's easy to lose hope. The words can't and won't are way too commonplace today. We have a guest who's fought what seemed to be insurmountable odds and won. Keith Guernsey is the author of Overcoming the Odds. He survived cancer and 2 brain surgeries and went on to play 3 championship softball teams. He played on these. It's just amazing. He wants to share how he did this and how to implement the techniques so that you can take on life's hurdles and win. Welcome, Keith.
Thank you.
You have an amazing story to tell. Thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Tell us your story. How did all of this occur?
How many hours do we have? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
It's been definitely an interesting journey, and it tells you a lot about yourself in terms of resilience and being relentless. And again, removing words like can't and won't and don't and quit out of your vocabulary. It's my opinion, and again, this is just a personal opinion, life is way too short to lose a day or a part of a day by being, depressed or bummed out or what have you. And my journey has taught me, to remove those words and to enjoy every day to the max. My slogan is, every day is a great day because it beats the alternative. And every morning when I wake up, I look to the sky and I thank God for another day on this wonderful planet. And my story goes back many, many decades, but it was relatively uneventful till I was 44. And my girlfriend at the time was telling me that I was having trouble hearing her. Now, I said to her, I made a joke out of it. I said, I'm watching my beloved New England Patriots play. I don't hear you when you're asking me to take out the trash or do some other errand. I pretended that, I made a joke of it. I wasn't hearing her. But to her everlasting credit, she persisted. And I went through test after test after test after test, all of them inconclusive, until they sent me to an MRI. And I said to the girl, you're going to put this big body in that little tiny tube? She says, oh, yeah, but it's only 45 minutes and you hear a large knocking. And I said, no, I won't, because I'm not doing it. And I got out and I called the doctor. I said, I can't do it. And she said, well, we'll do a CAT scan. If that's not conclusive enough, we will have to figure out a way to do an MRI, sedate me or what have you. The CAT scan was conclusive. I was diagnosed with a benign brain tumor called an acoustic neuroma. And I had that out in a 10-hour operation in 1995. And I thought I was fine. I met my lovely wife, Susan, at that time on a blind date in a newspaper ad. And that was in 1996. Shortly thereafter, the tumor came back. They'd gotten the tumor, but not all the surrounding tumor cells. So they went in again. So her meeting me and her started dating me, her reward was a guy who was sitting through 12 hours of life-threatening brain surgery. And wow. It was unbelievable. The first surgery was okay because they just took out the tumor. The second surgery was much more intricate because they had to get all the surrounding tumor cells so it wouldn't go back. And I had headaches to beat the band. And I couldn't sleep, couldn't stand up, walk, talk, or much of anything. All I could do was sit and eat. and I ate and I ate and I ate some more. And I'm the person who eats comfort food. So I was eating ice cream and pizza and Chinese food until I hit the scales. Now, I'm only 5'9", and I have a stocky build from playing football and hockey. But when I hit the scales and weighed 340 pounds,
Ooh.
I said, I've met the girl of my dreams, and we're not going to have a very long life together if I don't get rid of this weight. Fortunately, having been a former football and hockey player, I knew how to do that. And to make a long story short, it's taken me the better part of 20 years to get rid of 160 pounds. So, I'm feeling healthier today at 69 years young than at any time since I stopped playing hockey when I was 28. And I thought I was free and clear. Susan and I were going to have our golden years, our retirement, the last year of our life, and smooth sailing. Then in 2018, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Oh, jeez.
And I had to wait 6 months for the robotic machine at the hospital to be available to me to have the surgery. And waiting is not my strong suit. As a matter of fact, if you look up the phrase cranky, impatient, curmudgeon in the dictionary, my picture will be there. And
well, that kind of waiting would be agonizing.
It was, and it really ruined the whole summer, so I had to wait and wait and wait. I had successful prostate cancer surgery. They got it all out. Everything was fine. I went dancing down the hall and out of the doctor's office. And if you've ever seen a clumsy, uncoordinated, fat old guy dance, you'll know it's a sight to behold. And I had people staring at me and comments under their breath, but I didn't care. I was cancer-free. And again, looking forward to a healthy retirement with Susan at my side. Then in a subsequent blood test, it was found out that I had high levels of protein in my blood, and sent across the hall to a hematologist who, as luck would have it, is one of the best in the country. And she said, you have cancer again.
Oh, no.
And this was far more severe. It's called multiple myeloma. It's a very rare blood cancer for which it's treatable, but at this time there is no cure. So I've been back in the gym. I had 9 months of treatment. I had an autologous stem cell transplant, and in 9 months of treatment, been in remission for a little over a year, about a year and a quarter. And like I say, feeling wonderful. And, these types of things taught me I have a lot more inner strength than I ever thought. And it's just been, a godsend getting past all this. And, having Susan by my side to be my sole caregiver.
That's huge. Having a support system, absolutely.
It's been wonderful.
But there are a lot of people who would have gotten just really angry.
Yep.
Did you get angry at any point?
No, I didn't. It was just, I try to maintain for myself and for Susan. Anger, to me, is a wasted emotion. I tried to be positive as much as possible and cultivate and keep a positive mental attitude. I have a friend here who's a retired cardiologist, and he essentially said, you will have a better outcome if you get positive and stay positive. And, I'm living proof that he was absolutely right on the money. And no, I maybe a little bit of disillusionment and disappointment, but I had developed an attitude that it was just another one of life's challenges, and I was going to beat it just like I did all the other challenges.
Has that been your perspective all your life?
Well, for the most part, yes. I did have a period where, before I met Susan, I had been a bachelor for 17 years. And, I was doing a lot of partying and drinking. And just, not my best self, if you will, until I met Susan and until I kind of put on my, positive mindset hat and, have had that for the last 30 years. And I'm just getting better. I feel like I'm getting better and stronger as each day passes. I'm in the gym every weekday morning at 5 a.m. for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And just feeling stronger every day, just like my favorite rock band Chicago says, feeling stronger every day.
That's always something that's a good mindset to have, I think. We're talking with Keith Guernsey. He's the author of Overcoming the Odds. You're listening to the Truckers Network radio show on TNCRadio.LIVE with Shelley Johnson and Tom Kelly. Stay tuned for more. Keith has got some great messages here. Stay tuned on TNCRadio.LIVE.
This info blog on TNCRadio.LIVE is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. 6 things to consider before starting your career in trucking. Truck drivers are often referred to as the backbone of America. They haul roughly 70% of America's freight. Nearly every good consumed in the United States has been shipped by a truck. Right now, the demand for truck drivers is higher than ever. The growing truck driver shortage in America is a topic of concern and has been for the past 4 years. The United States is in dire need of people to start driving trucks. Are you considering becoming a truck driver, but not quite sure if it's the career path for you? Here are 6 things potential truck drivers need to know before starting their career in the trucking industry. Know your why. Why do I want to become a truck driver? Is one of the first questions you should ask yourself before starting your career in trucking. Knowing and understanding your why is important so that you make sure that trucking is something you'll enjoy. Nothing is more draining than working in a career field that you're not passionate about and excited about. Truck drivers are already more likely to struggle with mental health problems because of the trucking lifestyle. So to avoid dreading your trucking career, ask yourself, why do I want to be a truck driver? Long work hours. It's obvious that truck drivers spend a majority of their workday in the driver's seat, but many new drivers don't realize how hard it can be sitting for long periods. Drivers spend hours upon hours sitting down. This can result in leg, back, and neck pain. If you're the type of person who cannot handle sitting down for several hours at a time, then truck driving is not for you. Another thing to consider is how long a typical workday is for a truck driver. Drivers are legally allowed to work 14 hours a day, but are limited to 11 hours of driving time. They must take a mandatory 30-minute break by the 8th hour of duty. Following the long workday, drivers must have 10 hours of off-duty time. In a work week, drivers cannot exceed more than 60 hours of work or 70 hours over 8 days. Failure to follow these HOS rules can result in being shut down, fines, and lower carrier safety ratings. A new lifestyle. There's not a career quite like trucking. It's nothing like your typical 9 to 5 Monday through Friday job. It's long hours, days, and most times weeks away from home. Truck drivers often experience loneliness, depression, and anxiety. If you're someone who's used to working with many people, then truck driving will be a shock. Drivers will go days or weeks without seeing their loved ones, and it can really take a toll on truckers, especially those who are new. Adjusting to this lifestyle can be challenging at first, but once you do, you can live a rewarding life as a truck driver. Getting seat time. The more experience you have as a truck driver, the better. With more experience, you'll land better truck driving jobs and better pay. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, truck drivers earn an average of over $40,000 a year. Yet, many trucking companies advertise higher rates of pay for experienced drivers. Over time, you can negotiate a higher rate per mile. Your relationships will suffer. It doesn't matter if you're on the road or at home. Make time for family. Make it a priority to talk to someone in your family once a day. It can be tough for truckers, especially long-haul truck drivers, to maintain relationships with their families due to the trucking lifestyle. Keeping in contact with your loved ones will help life on the road be less lonely. Lack of sleep. Getting the recommended amount of sleep each night is a rare thing for truckers. Although sleep may be difficult for truckers because of the uncomfortable way of living, it's essential to their well-being and safety. Make it a priority to get good sleep and make a sleep schedule. Set an alarm for a certain time and turn off all electronics and get your much-needed sleep. Not getting enough sleep makes life on the road miserable. Although there may seem like many downsides, truck driving can be a very rewarding and exciting career. As a truck driver, you have freedom on the open road and the chance to see America's most beautiful places. For information on trucking, be sure to check out the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
Want to advertise on TNCRadio.LIVE? Take advantage of great discounts for 2021. Check out the sponsors page at TNCRadio.LIVE or send email to info@TNCRadio.LIVE.
This is the Truckers Network radio show on TNCRadio.LIVE. I'm Shelley Johnson with Tom Kelly. We're talking with Keith Guernsey, the author of Overcoming the Odds. Wow, Keith, I'm just amazed at the story you've already told us here and the challenges you've had that you were able to surmount. How did you end up on 2 championship softball teams, first of all, after 2 brain surgeries? That's amazing.
I just, after the second surgery, I had about 5 weeks where I was kind of out of it because of all the scraping. And all of a sudden, the fog lifted, and I was back to reasonably good health. I played softball my whole life. And my wife saw an ad in the newspaper for what she calls geezer ball, what you and I know as senior softball, over like 55, right up the street. And just got on some very good teams and had a ball. And it would be playing with them to this day, except Susan got transferred. As mentioned, she was working for Grable Van Line's moving company. And she got transferred down here to Atlanta. You probably could tell by my accent, I'm not from here. I'm from Boston, where we park our car in Harvard Yard, and I had a blast playing ball, and I was reasonably healthy. I was still, at the time, very, very, very much overweight. So you never could run very far or fast. Even when I played football in high school, I was always the last person to run the laps. But slowly but surely, I started to round back into shape, and the weight started to come off a little bit. I had gotten 50 pounds off. And then when we moved down here, we retired in 2013 to a wonderful active adult community that has a 40,000 square foot clubhouse with a great gym inside. And the man above told me that, you still have work to do. You have a great gym at 300 yards from your home, but it only works if you get in there and get working.
That's true.
So I love to work out, and it's very easy for me because we have a little 4-footed adopted daughter who gets us up about 4 o'clock.
Aww.
To take care of her business, and Susan heads out with her, and I head to the gym, and I get in an hour of cardio and some light lifting. And it's fun for me. There's a couple of my regular workout partners that I enjoy chatting with, and we try to solve the world's problems while we work out, so to speak. But, the weight, it started to come off, but, I don't believe in these fad diets. I was losing a pound a week, which is what you're supposed to do, because then you can keep it off. I'm very proud of the fact that unless the clubhouse was closed for COVID or we were traveling, I have been in the gym just about every weekday morning for the almost 8 years we've lived here. And the weight started to come off, and I kept working out. I played on a softball team down here. I only got one season before we moved further north, and it was too far away. I tried to get it going here, but haven't been successful as of this moment in time, although we're still trying. But it was, I love to play. I love sports. I love working out. I enjoy fishing, and we love being outside, traveling, taking our little dog, up to the mountains, and just doing everything, that I've always wanted to do. Now that I'm feeling, so much healthier, but still, and this is key, still observing the fact that COVID's still around. It hasn't subsided, hasn't left this country completely. And I still, as an at-risk cancer patient, although I'm in remission, I still have to be careful. I still have to wear a mask when I go to the grocery store. I still have to maintain 6-foot social distance if at all possible. I don't do any indoor activities where there's a crowd of people. That's why I'm in the gym early, because there's only a couple other people. I'm in, I'm out, and I'm done, and I can start the day. So
it sounds like you're pretty disciplined. Would you say that kind of helped in terms of your recovery and everything?
No question about it. No question about it, Shelley. It helped that I am a disciplined individual now, not always, but now I am. It also helped that Susan very gently kept her finger on the pulse, so to speak, and made sure that I didn't fall back into my kind of madcap, foolish ways, if you will. And I've had to be disciplined to get to the point where I am now in terms of, losing 160 pounds, in terms of being in remission for the second year and going forward. And, it has to do a lot with not only the exercise, but nutrition. Substituting, I would say I have substituted Brussels sprouts for Ben & Jerry's.
Okay. I'm not sure everybody would say that's yum, but
no. Let me qualify that, Shelley, by saying I haven't given up ice cream completely.
Okay.
But I've modified it, so
sure.
I have it a lot less often, and I have plain vanilla ice cream instead of Ben & Jerry's. I will treat myself to Ben & Jerry's a couple times a year, but it's nutrition. For me, it's vitamins, sure. And at this point, I want to mention the fact that I'm also a myeloma coach. I counsel a lot of other cancer patients on living well with cancer. Okay. And at the end, you had said that I could give out my email address, and anyone who wants to contact me to get my 6-point plan for living well with cancer, I'm more than happy to send it to them.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, were you given any guidance from the physicians with all of your different health challenges? Absolutely. On how to live and what to do, or did they just kind of cut you loose? And
no.
Okay, that's
I feel very fortunate that you hear about medical malpractice and doctors who aren't, doing the right thing and misdiagnosing, treat medical problems every day. I have been extremely fortunate to have the best medical care possible. Going back to my brain surgeries, my neurosurgeon was the best of the best. My urologist was also excellent, and they caught the blood anomaly and sent me across the hall to a hematologist who has been phenomenal. And I've been very fortunate. And no, they've stayed with me every step of the way, and helped me modify my lifestyle, my nutrition, my exercise. They told me, just to give an example, they said, "You're a little anemic, get an iron pill." I went and got an iron pill, and I take one every morning, and the anemia's gone away. That type of thing. You have to adjust kind of as you go. And be disciplined. A friend of mine here was diagnosed with leukemia right before I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. And he said, Keith, if you do one thing, follow your doctor's instruction to the letter of the law in terms of taking your medication. If they say, take 2 a day, you take 2 a day. And I've done that every single day religiously. And obviously, it's helped a tremendous amount.
Well, it's important to listen to the doctor. And a lot of people don't always do that, either because perhaps the medication makes them sicker, or they don't, maybe they're in denial, they don't want to listen. There are a lot of reasons. Exactly.
And that's why I say, if you're a cancer patient, whether it be multiple myeloma or some other form of cancer, and you want my story of living well with cancer, I'm more than happy to send it to anyone by email. I'm happy to talk to anyone about their situation. And I've been successful in counseling, and it's basically lending an ear and making suggestions based on, my successful treatment and getting them to the point where they feel better about themselves. And again, a lot of it is just talking.
Sure.
And listening to their story.
Yeah, and that's quite often what people really need is just that kind of support system. We're talking with Keith Guernsey. He's the author of Overcoming the Odds. You're listening to the Truckers Network radio show on TNCRadio.LIVE. I'm Shelley Johnson here with Tom Kelly. We'll be back with more from Keith coming up. Stay tuned.
On May 20th, NOAA issued its 2021 seasonal hurricane outlook for the Atlantic and Eastern Pacific basins. For the Atlantic, an active hurricane season is predicted. Here at NOAA, we're predicting a 60% chance that the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season will be above normal. There is a 30% chance of the season being near normal and a 10% chance of it being below normal. Several climate factors that are conducive to increased hurricane activity, including the ongoing high-activity era that has been in place since 1995, are reflected in this year's outlook. We're now experiencing ENSO-neutral conditions with the possibility of a return to La Niña later in the hurricane season. In addition, warmer-than-average sea surface temperatures in the tropical Atlantic Ocean and Caribbean Sea, reduced vertical wind shear, weaker tropical Atlantic trade winds, and an enhanced West African monsoon all contribute to the outlook for this season's above-normal activity. Each year, it is important to be prepared for the hurricane season ahead, and 2021 is no different. As we know, it takes just one storm to impact a community and cause significant damage from high winds, storm surge, and flooding. NOAA works closely with our partners to help emergency managers and communities make targeted decisions to support public safety. Millions of people in the U.S. live in areas that could be impacted by a hurricane, and only a fraction of those live along the immediate coast. Now is the time to get prepared. Visit the National Hurricane Center's website at hurricanes.gov throughout the season to stay on top of any watches and warnings. Be sure to visit FEMA's website, ready.gov, for additional hurricane preparedness tips. Hurricane preparation starts at home. Start today, and together we can build a more weather-ready nation.
A report of child abuse is made every 10 seconds. These crimes can't be excused. Help Attica raise awareness. Donate or be an Attica member for just $25 a year. Become a hero for kids. Be a hero for Attica.
This is the Truckers Network radio show on TNCRadio.LIVE. I'm Shelley Johnson with Tom Kelly, and we're talking with Keith Guernsey, the author of Overcoming the Odds. Keith, you said that you've actually written 4 different books, not just Overcoming the Odds.
I have. My first book, as I mentioned earlier, I am originally from the Boston area. You can probably tell by the accent. I had no intention of becoming an author, but what I did was I started writing down memories of games that I played in, games that I coached in as a football and hockey coach, and also games I attended. I was an avid Boston sports fan. I still am. And then I met Susan, and I had, a page became a chapter, and one chapter became 2 chapters. And, I talked about writing a book for the longest time. And when we retired and moved here, Susan said, essentially, I am tired of hearing about this darn book. Finish it and publish it. So I did. It's called Confessions of a Beantown Sports Junkie. It's on Amazon. It's very highly rated. It's been out a while, but at some point in time, I'm going to go back and update it. But it's a fun, lighthearted trip down memory lane for me. One of the stories contained in it is a story I think everyone will get a kick out of it. When I was a kid growing up 12 miles from Fenway Park, baseball is way more than just a game in Boston. Right. It's a passion. Some would say it's a religion.
Sure.
And I wanted to try my hand at Little League. Well, at the time, I was built more like a sumo wrestler than a Little League baseball player, but I wanted to try it anyway. I convinced my mother to let me give it a shot. She signed the permission slip and ordered my uniform, and I was so excited. I went to the mailbox every day looking for it to come. It finally came, and I opened the box, and there was this gorgeous, pressed, white, shiny, new uniform, and I was just thrilled. I put the jersey on, and it fit like a glove. I was so happy. Tried to put the pants on, and having a very large posterior region, they didn't fit. So my mother, in her infinite wisdom, said, "Oh, I can fix that," and she cut a V out of the rear end. And
okay.
But she didn't have any white material to expand that V or to cover that V. All she had was gray material. So long and short of it is, on opening day, we had, bands and all kinds of fans and thousands of, family, friends, parents coming to watch opening day. And there were 100 ball players, 50 on the first base line and 50 on the third base line. 99 of them had perfectly pressed starched white uniform, and one had a white uniform with a big gray V right in the butt. and being rotund and having a last name like Guernsey, like the cow, I couldn't live it down. In this day and age, they call it hazing, but I took a ribbing like you could never imagine, and I wanted to crawl into a hole right there in the ball field.
I bet.
Because everyone was laughing up a storm. That was my most embarrassing moment on the baseball field, but surprisingly not by that much. One of the first games, everyone had a play. That was the league rule. And I was sent out to right field, even though I was not a good baseball player at all. Right field is where they stick the worst player in hopes that the ball will never be hit there. The first guy came up and hit a monster shot way over my head, and I started to go back for it, and a gust of wind came up and blew my baseball cap off my head. So instead of continuing to go back to fetch the ball, I turned and went back towards the infield to get my hat. So I finally got the ball, but I got my hat first before I got the ball. My only saving grace was that there was no America's Funniest Home Video or
social media.
No social media to show it again and again and again, because I have friends from 50 years ago still remind me of my 2 full paws in Little League baseball.
I bet.
Fortunately, I found my sport, and that was hockey. I was an all-star in hockey. I was a pretty good football player. Gave up my baseball career for those 2 sports. And that's what Confessions talks about. It talks about my being blessed and fortunate to play against 2 of the greatest hockey players of all time, 2 Hockey Hall of Famers, Bobby Orr and Ray Bourque, growing up as a kid. And I was truly honored to have done that. But and that was a great experience. I finished it. I published it. It's still on Amazon. And then I started writing the sequel, talk more about family, my relationship. The sequel is entitled Fathers and Sons, Sports and Life. And talks a lot more about my family, my late father, who was the most wonderful human being and the most patient person on the planet. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, in my case, patience kind of skipped a generation. But he sat in every frozen rink in North America watching me play hockey. Never complained at all. And Fathers and Sons also introduces Susan, a chapter with Susan, and a chapter with our first grandson, Harrison. And then a couple of years later, that was 2016, 2018, cancer hit, and I wrote Overcoming the Odds to talk about, again, taking words like can't and won't and quit and don't out of your vocabulary, right. Cultivating and maintaining a positive attitude. And I talked about, overcoming brain surgery, prostate cancer, morbid obesity. And that was, a wonderful opportunity to write that short book. My readers seem to like my books pretty much short, sweet, and to the point, easy reads, and they all are, but they're all rated 4.4 or higher on Amazon. I'm very gratified by that. I've had a lot of success. Yeah. And then, with multiple myeloma, came my fourth and most recent book called On the Road to Remission. And that details my 1.5-year battle with multiple myeloma and talks about the problems I encountered along the way that I was able to overcome. It wasn't all wine and roses, so to speak, but there were some, 3 significant problems which I was able to get past and, resume life as normal, which is what I'm doing now.
Now, you said there's 6 things to living well with cancer.
Yes.
Is that in that book, or is this a separate?
No, that's separate. And
okay.
When we're done, I will send that to you. You can share it. It is on the web in several places. But the long and short of it is, and they're just bullet points. And again, at the end, I will give you all my contact information. So anyone that wants to discuss more detail. But number 1 is find the absolute best medical care that you can. And that can sound kind of trite, but I have a, if your gut instinct tells you you're not getting the best care, you owe it to yourself and your family and your friends to get the best care. And if that means second opinion, third opinion, whatever it takes. I have a myeloma coaching patient who started off by telling me she felt like she wasn't getting the best care. And I said, I will refer you to my hematologist, who is great. You just tell your doctor you're getting a second opinion. And she said, well, I don't want to offend him. And I said, you're not offending him. Doctors get told that by patients that they want a second opinion daily, all day long. So if you're not getting the best care, you're cheating yourself. Number 2, for me, is, surround yourself with a great support network. In my case, it was Susan, my wife, and my friends and family, my son and my sister. My son, Keith Anthony, and my sister, Michelle, are back in Boston, and they were texting and or calling Susan every day to get a progress report. So
that's huge.
Yeah, it really is. It is huge. And
we're
3,
we're coming up on break.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
If you want to hold the the last four when we come back?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. We're talking with Keith Guernsey. He's the author of Overcoming the Odds on the Truckers Network radio show. I'm Shelley Johnson here on TNCRadio.live. We've got more from Keith, some great information, so definitely stay tuned right here on TNCRadio.live. Finding a safe place to park your rig at night can be a challenge on the road. The Truckers Network, a membership resource site for trucking companies, company drivers, and owner-operators, proudly partners with Truck Park to offer safe and secure overnight truck parking to all Truckers Network members. Truck Park is the digital truck parking leader and America's fastest-growing truck parking service. The Truckers Network exists to link truck drivers with the best quality trucking products and services the industry has to offer. Finding safe overnight parking is crucial for truck drivers, and many drivers struggle with finding available parking spots. The limited parking availability causes drivers to lose sleep, which poses a safety risk to others on the road. Safe parking is valuable for drivers and the cargo they're transporting. With this partnership, Truckers Network members will have access to a discount code and be able to reserve parking spots in real time along their truck route at a reduced price. Truck Park gives drivers access to parking locations across most of the United States. Simply enter the city and state to view available parking spaces nearest a pickup or delivery point, then pay to reserve. Parking rates vary at each location, with some rates as low as $10. Truck Park is a values-based company that empowers truck drivers while providing a safe and unmatched experience. The company offers a quick way to find and reserve parking spots throughout the U.S. Truck drivers have access to Truck Park's free mobile app to easily begin reserving parking spots based on their truck route. About the Truckers Network. The Truckers Network exists to link truckers and trucking businesses throughout the United States. The company's mission is to make the life of a truck driver easier by connecting drivers to the highest quality trucking products and services to keep their trucks on the road. You're listening to TNCRadio.live. Remember to tune into the Truckers Network radio show with Shelley Johnson, weekdays at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. This is the Truckers Network radio show on TNCRadio.live. I'm Shelley Johnson with Tom Kelly. We're talking with Keith Guernsey, who's the author of Overcoming the Odds. You had covered, Keith, a couple of the things to living well with cancer, but you said there are actually 6 things that you can do to live well. If you want to summarize the first 2 and then go into the rest, we had to go to break. So. Yeah,
the first one is get the best medical care possible. If your gut instinct says, I'm not getting the best medical care possible, seek out a second opinion or a third opinion. If you want to know how I do it, I do a lot of internet research on, places like healthgrades.com, etc. Contact me anytime, and I'll be happy to walk you through it. Again, the second one is surround yourself with the best support network you can, and that means family, friends, in my case, neighbors. They were incredible while I was in the hospital. Our friend across the street knit this really cool comforter for us. I can't overemphasize how important it is to have that great support network. The third is, as I mentioned previously, follow the doctors. Once you get the best doctor you can, follow their instructions to the letter of the law on your prescriptions. If they say increase this dosage, decrease this dosage, it's with cancer patients like me, it's always a balancing act. And to some extent, they may be experimenting, they may be doing clinical trials or whatever the case may be. But, once you have the best doctor and you're comfortable with that person being the best for you, follow their instructions. I mentioned that for me, I had a little anemia. They said, take an iron pill. I take an iron pill every day, and the anemia is gone. Nutrition. Again, I mentioned that I substitute Brussels sprouts for Ben and Jerry's. Right. Not completely, but a lot of the time. fruits and vegetables. I have an orange with my breakfast. Susan made Brussels sprouts for lunch. I'm always eating bananas and peaches and, not to exclude anything, but I've cut way back on my portions in terms of, I used to be able to eat a whole pizza. Now I have 2 slices and that's it.
Okay.
I'm done. But I have a salad with that. So I have, some tomatoes and some carrots and some lettuce with that.
Balanced diet, sure.
Exactly.
Do you try to get vegetables and fruits that have antioxidants and that sort of thing? Or
No, not really. Not really. I rely on, again, Susan for that. So she's the expert. For 44 years of my life, I didn't eat a piece of lettuce that wasn't in a cheeseburger. So, now I rely on her expertise.
Yeah.
She guides me through that process, and she does it with me. We eat salads together, we eat Brussels sprouts together, we eat oranges together, and that type of thing. The 5th thing is get lots of exercise. You don't have to be a marathon runner or a triathlete. Walking is great, swimming, stretchy bands. For me, I do a lot of cardio in the gym every morning. But, like I say, you don't have to be a marathon runner or a triathlete, but you need to get some exercise. And you'd be amazed. I'll give you an example. Today, even after going to the gym, just walking the dog, I've walked 5 miles today. So, in addition to the hour workout, I walked 5 miles.
Which is
and you don't necessarily have to do that, but you do need to get some exercise.
Sure.
And whether it can be yoga, it can be Zumba, or whatever the case may be. That's point number 5. Point number 6 is vitamins. They help me ward off colds, and I had one cold in 3 years, one minor cold in 3 years, even with the cancer, because your immune system is compromised. But I take 5 different types of vitamins every day, and that for me is key, because like I say, with the iron, doctor said take an iron pill. I've done that. She said increase your B12. So I've increased that from 1,000 mgs a day to 2,000.
What does the B12 do?
B12 just helps you get increased energy. I'll look it up on the internet in terms of exactly what it does. But I can tell you, all these vitamins have helped me greatly.
So do you take a multivitamin also?
Yes, I take 2 of everything except one of the iron pills. I take two Centrum multivitamins. I take 2 B12s, 2 Cs, and 2 Ds, and 1 iron pill. And in general, B12, it's a nutrient.
Right.
And it helps keep the body's blood cells healthy, which, of course, in my case, having blood cancer is critical. So, those are my 6 basic points. A couple more that I just realized should probably be added are hydration. You need to hydrate all day long. Drinking a clear liquid. It can be water. It can be flavored water. Probably not a clear liquid like gin. That's probably not too good.
Probably
for
not.
But,
Yeah.
That's the 7th point. And I'm going to polish this up and then I'll send it to you. But the 8th is getting sleep and getting rest. I've had a lot of fellow patients who can't sleep well.
Right.
So they have to rest during the day, but I can't underestimate the importance of getting, a good amount of rest or sleep. And if you need to, again, call your doctor. I'm not a big fan of things like melatonin or Ambien, but whatever works for you, or what for you and your doctor,
Sure.
is most important. So
I would think these are some good common sense points, really, and it makes so much sense, and especially follow your instincts. If you don't feel like you're getting the proper advice from a physician, get a second opinion. Absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
It's amazing how many people will defer to the doctor just because they're a doctor.
Yes. Well, that's my main point. And doctors aren't always right, just like we humans who aren't doctors aren't always right about everything. So if your gut says, I'm not getting the best care, find someone else.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said for the gut instinct.
Yes, definitely.
So you had a story. You were talking about how you got into hockey.
Yes.
When we were on break. I thought maybe you could share that with listeners.
Oh, absolutely, sure. As I mentioned, my father was the best of the best. Patient, never complained, but he never crossed the line as a father and a coach. He didn't yell at a ref. You see it in the news every so often. Fathers yelling at coaches.
Oh, yeah.
Fathers yelling at umpires. Jimmy isn't playing enough in this game, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
My father went to every game and every practice. And as I mentioned, he sat at every frozen rink in North America, but he never crossed that line, that invisible line. He never yelled at a coach, never yelled at an umpire. Keith isn't playing enough, et cetera, et cetera. I was in the 8th grade, and my father said, if you pass all your courses, I will send you to and pay for 2 weeks of hockey camp. Brochure arrived, and I had been on skates and practically I can walk. As a matter of fact, I have an old friend who says, how come you're more graceful on skates than you are when you walk? And I grew up on skates, and it's just second nature to me. And Dad said, I will send you to hockey camp. Brochure arrived at a camp up in Donald, Ontario, as far north on the continent as you could go, without being in the ocean. Drove me up there, and again, never uttered a word of complaint, even though it was like essentially driving from Boston to Los Angeles. Got out of the car, and I was totally starstruck. I can still name a lot of the NHL stars that were there, Hockey Hall of Famers like Red Kelly and Bernie Perrant, Rookie of the Year, Ron Ellis, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that was a Sunday, and we got checked in and everything. And the next day, we're on the ice, and all the other instructors were milling around. And then I saw this crew-cut 18-year-old kid calling all. This is the summer before he played his first season in the NHL.
Wow!
And he calling all the other instructors "sir," and it turned out it was Bobby Orr.
Oh my!
And
wow!
I've been very, very fortunate over the years that we have, except recently, stayed in touch. We stayed in touch for almost 50 years.
That's great.
He'd send me autographed copies of my book. I'd send him autographed copies of his book. I'd send him my book. He'd send me his books. I even had a return voicemail from him that I would have loved to have saved on an answering machine, 35 years ago.
Sure.
But,
we have less than a minute,
okay.
Keith. I was wondering if you could tell everybody where they could get your books and
yes.
reach you.
Amazon, just type in Keith Guernsey, and it's KeithGuernsey. They can get all 4 of them on Amazon. They can reach you by email at theguerns2005@yahoo.com. And I'll spell that for you. It's T Tom, H Henry, E Edward, G George, U Unique, R Robert, N Nancy, S Sugar 2005@yahoo.com. They can also reach me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Keith, for being on the show.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
Thank you. You're listening to the Truckers Network radio show here on TNCRadio.LIVE. Stay tuned for the Evening Search coming up.
Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. For more information regarding our podcast, reuse, copyrights, etc., please visit our website, www.tncradio.live.